Cool. So thanks for joining this session. Not sure how much we're going to talk about, but my idea was to cover a little about the topic that of what we have been doing over the last year with our Hack2Build and what is going on in that topic. What we've done, what's working, what was not, what was our expectations, and stuff like that. So this is the topic. If you have questions along the way, just put them into the chat, and I'll try to answer them as well as possible. But yeah, the idea was not to show too much video of what is going on, but just keep you here and have some talk about what I've seen and what I've experienced. So yes. 2 years ago today, and I guess that's why I'm live here. We won this nice award, and I guess that was quite a journey to get into how do we actually start out on something like this. And I think, yeah, a year in advance I had some ideas about we should be able to do it, but it was really a long shot trying to create a migration tool because it contains a lot of different scenarios we needed to cover, including how do you create BPMs, how do you ensure the mapping still works. And I think those are the two main components of getting this to work. And here, after 2 years, we are still using those components. We have refined them quite a lot. So let's take the iFlow generation first. I think that is really an interesting piece that we have done there. That when we started out, we created a graphical model of the internals of the iFlow, and then we could easily take this, or could take it and convert it to a BPMN model, that we could then import an CPI, CFI, or whatever you would call it, because BPM is one thing that's a standard model, but then you can extend it with all the SAP logic, and that was one of the part we needed to figure out how do we also do that. Drawing lines has been changed along the way. I'm looking forward to see the new update, what that would look like and how that would improve the processing then. So yes, that is the graphical, but yeah, I definitely see that has a lot of advantages when you are dealing with migration. You do not need to if we need to add JSON to XML conversion, we just do it once, and then we don't have it in separate templates. So I think that really simplifies things. We can set up specific routing or any routing that is needed without having to spend too much effort on it. Well, yeah, that the users and the process is really simplified there. With the message mappings, there's obviously a lot of differences between the models there. We learned, obviously, getting the correct data type, selecting it was kind of, or some of the things that we've struggled with, and there is users that has all kind of different scenarios, and we then needed to adjust them to make sure that it continuously worked. And then the big change, and that was the Groovy functions, or the function libraries that we converted into Groovies. That was also a good decision. We're still working on that, and we had some issues with it, with adding parameters, the bindings that you can add on a function libraries and mapping those there. It's just been released in this today's patch. And these are a lot of the differences that we actually see as we work with this. And yeah, I think SAP made the right call about creating it as a Java function, because yeah, there's a lot of small nitty-gritty details that you need to go around converting Java to Groovy, parameter-wise, etc., to make it work. So yeah, I would obviously have loved that we could still use the container, but you would still need to update these parameters as you start using them. So some of the things that we had not really anticipated when we did this and created the first prototype was the amount of different problems that we would run into working with this. All of these nitty-gritty details, we had not thought that it would be such a big issue to try to support Groovy functions, that Groovy and Java is different. So if you have a string with a quote on and a dollar sign in it, Groovy interprets that as a variable, which is a little different than what we would expect in a PI world. I think one of the other things that amazed me a little was the what you needed to do as a part of this. So when we built it, we just focused on take an ICO and convert it. But there, and I think also test it, but there's a full process around that you need to support. So we needed to take some step backs and say, okay, if we want to achieve the goal about migrating, making it easy for customers to migrate, what are the different components that we would need to use as a part of this? And that's the process that we have been using, and I think we have worked out, well, somewhat successful with thinking about the full process and not just the goal of moving content. Yeah, we have added quite a lot here. We have our overview. Let me just show you that if I can find the right scene. So here we have the overview where you can see what is going on. So in the beginning, we simply just had select an ICO and then select where to create it to, which was okay, and what we needed at that point in time. But obviously that is really difficult to keep track of what you have done, what's correct, and where do you want to move with this. So that was, yeah, one of the things we learned. We also created the report, the assessment report that we have here that gives you a lot of insight about your landscape. And I think that is also a quite important part of this, because you want to be able to take the step back and look at it and see what is actually possible. What is it that we can do as a part of this delivery? That's, yeah. And then obviously making the transition smoother from installing the box to migrating and testing that migration. So today I'm also hosting a webinar where I'll cover all of the different steps about getting started, install it. My goal is in 90 minutes that we are able to test a migration or install the tool, configure it, create the assessment, migrate an ICO from PI to integration suite, and test that in 90 minutes. I think it is doable. I've done it on a number of different customer projects. It obviously requires everything works, and the errors that we have we can control. So it's also about making the onboarding, making the process a lot easier for us to use. So we have taken in a lot of all the considerations and comments that we have gotten from customers that have been using the tool, and say, okay, yeah, this is not really going to be scalable. This is not the ideal way to do this. So we have decided to improve those scenarios. And yeah, if you have questions along the way, just put them into the chat, and then we will try to cover, or I'll try to cover those questions. But so far, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, got some good insight, and yeah, there's a lot of components in place for this, and I think from a user perspective, or as a developer, it yeah, the part about focusing, okay, what is it that we do optimally for these scenarios, so we do not need to have a lot of developers make too many decisions, is an important one. So 2 weeks ago or something like that, we had a discussion about, okay, if we have a synchronous call and we have it as a part of our local processes, how do we ensure that we are able to test that correctly? And with the way the CPI uses trace messages, we needed to insert a different step, a different content modifier that will just be there but not do anything. Is not really ideal, but I guess it is about balancing. What do you want to test it, or do you want to have something that runs smoothly? And I think this is the ability to be able to test it is a lot more important than saving as an additional step. And obviously you can always just delete this step after you have performed the test, or not performed the test at all if you do not want that. But I think the more of these things that you can test, the better, and especially because the two models are different, it makes sense to have a lot of test cases that you can use. And yeah, it is an interesting process going around creating these different things. Oh yeah, and I guess the other thing, we based on this, we obviously got the partnership with SAP, working with them also to deliver our testing. So testing, taking PI messages and run them on the CPI as a free service. Well, yeah, I think this is something that would enable customers to be able to migrate faster, and from our perspective, that they have the tool in place, and hopefully it's okay. We need some of these things. We have the tool already. Let's just upgrade to get these new additions. If if you have any questions, put them into the chat. Otherwise, ping me or in a private message or whatever you want to. If there's something that I covered that is not too clear, yeah, the idea was just celebrate that we have created this, won the award here 2 years ago, and then also to give some idea about what it is that, what big changes have we done. And I think it is a lot more development effort than initially estimated, about getting all of these different edge cases resolved, because it is one thing to test it in a prototype lab, but it is different when you want to do it in a real world scenarios. Cool. So thanks for joining. Please like and subscribe, and talk to you next time. Goodbye. Stream.